What a great time to be a Giant, be a fan of the Giants.
Like, we have something going here. We're building something special, and you can see it from the outside and inside. It's even more beautiful.
Reflecting on everything that got me here, just to see that uniform, and I watched. That's the team I watched the most growing up because my dad was a Giants fan. So
once a Giant, always a Giant. For me, it's only a Giant.
Welcome everybody to another edition of All In with Art Stapleton, a New York Giants podcast, brought to you by NorthJersey.com and The Record. This is a post-game edition, and we are down here in Miami, and the New York Giants have fallen to 1-4, 31-16 losers to the Miami Dolphins. A lot going on today. Dolphins speed on offense as advertised, but the big story right now for the Giants, you knew it was only a matter of time and inevitable with the way this offensive line was getting beat time and again. Daniel Jones leaves with a neck injury. We've heard that before. Not going to jump to any conclusions. He had tests after the game. He will get further testing on Monday. He actually met the media after the game, so that's got to be considered one of the positive signs. But still a lot of uncertainty regarding his status moving forward, especially this week when you consider we didn't even know Daniel Jones back in 2021, which was Joe Judge's last season, that Jones had gotten a neck injury until the following day. Remember, they had beaten the Eagles that Sunday in MetLife Stadium. So Daniel Jones leaves in the fourth quarter. A big hit by Andrew Van Winkle beat Josh Ezeudu. The emotions involved in this game, the emotions for the Giants are all over the place. And Jones said he's still in some pain, but I feel fine after the game. Someone asked him about whether or not this is similar to the injury he had in 2021. He said a little bit, some similarities, really all over the place. In that terms of what specifically is wrong with Jones. Then, of course, Tyrod Taylor comes into the game. He gets hit right at the 2-minute warning. Brian Daboll said afterwards that Tyrod got the wind knocked out of him. He stayed in the game, did not have to leave because it was a stoppage in play because of the 2-minute warning. We don't have an answer as to what the Giants would have done had Taylor gotten hurt and had to leave the game. My guess is, since Tommy DeVito was not elevated and is on the practice squad, that they would have run some sort of direct snap to Matt Breida, and that's the way that would have gone. So looking at that situation and the way the Giants are leaving here in Miami, this is just the worst-case scenario for this team. Now you have to look at Daniel Jones. For all the criticism of what Jones was receiving for his play, the punishment he has taken the last two games, 10 sacks against the Seahawks, 6 sacks tonight, including the last one, that essentially left Josh Ezeudu in tears after the game in the post-game locker room, which is another story. I mentioned the emotions all over the place. Ezeudu was pulled for Matt Peart at left tackle to finish the game after Jones got hurt. And it's just a tough scene right now watching these Giants, and it's hard to believe what they were last year and the optimism that they had this offseason and what we saw this summer, that this team has become this. Now, got to give credit to the Giants' defense for 3 takeaways. That pick 6 by Jason Pinnock kept this team in the game. Bobby Okereke, I believe he had 11 tackles. He was all over the place. And Kayvon Thibodeau picked up his 4th sack, so he matches his rookie total. But what the defense didn't do is eliminate the big plays. Now, I mentioned the word inevitable. Maybe big plays by the Dolphins are inevitable, especially when you're an offense that can't score. They have not scored a touchdown since the one Breida scored on Thursday night against the 49ers. They have no offensive touchdowns in the first half all season, which is crazy. And, this defense, as well as it played at times against the Dolphins, gave up some huge chunk plays. The biggest of which was the 69-yard touchdown pass from Tua to Tyreek Hill that started the third quarter. The Giants are sitting there, and it's 17-10 at the half. Dolphins, after Pinnock's pick six, the Dolphins settle for a field goal at the end of the half. It's 17-10. They get the second half kickoff, and then Adoree Jackson realizes that his chin snap on his helmet is broken as they were coming out to get ready for the first drive of the second half. So he's dealing with a maintenance issue, an equipment issue, and Trey Hawkins III, the rookie, runs out onto the field to take Jackson's spot. He goes near Tay Banks, who was shadowing Jalen Waddle on that play. So he ends up running completely across the other side of the field to get to Tyreek Hill. And then Tyreek Hill beats him probably about 3 yards downfield, perfect pass from Tua, and that touchdown. And that touchdown is really, as much as the Giants hung in there in the second half, that was the final nail for the Giants. Because let's face it, this offense is doing nothing. This offensive line is down to a bunch of backups and a bunch of young players who have not been able to prove anything in this league. And that's where they are. And that falls from the top on down. Brian Daboll after the game said, it's on me. It's on the head coach. But there are a lot of problems with this team right now. And the biggest issue you have to worry about is this team dividing. Because the offense struggled today. And if the offense can do anything today, that this is probably more of a game. Yes, the defense gave up big plays, so they are certainly not without blame. But afterwards, Xavier McKinney, a little bit terse with reporters asking him what went wrong on the touchdown pass to Hill, what went wrong on the big plays that were allowed. You could tell McKinney is tired of answering the same questions. Darren Waller talked about the idea that the offensive players are basically encouraging the defensive players, stick with us. We'll get it right. We'll get it right. Kayvon Thibodeau said after the game, has a lot of respect for guys like Waller and Daniel Jones and even Tyrod, is that, they're getting out there and they're fighting, and he doesn't question their desire at all. But the one question that was asked is the Giants' offense broken? And right now they can't do anything right. Now, does that mean that the personnel changes that may be coming if guys get healthy, if Saquon Barkley comes back, if Andrew Thomas comes back at left tackle, if somehow Justin Pugh gets on the field for this team in a couple weeks when his acclimation, essentially a training camp in October, works out for him? Does he end up moving to left guard? Marcus McKeithen left today with a knee injury. That's an issue because now what are they going to do at left guard and right guard? Jalen Mayfield, who was really acquired right before the season started from Atlanta, he went in at right guard. He had a penalty. Azudu right now, I don't know if you can play him at left tackle anymore. He's an emotional kid, and unfortunately, I think at this point, he needs to sit and be able to kind of recover a little bit and, receive some love from this team. And that's how weird it is. But he certainly was emotional and felt like he let this team down without saying it. So that's where we're at down here. And now they get to go to Buffalo next week in prime time, maybe without Daniel Jones, maybe with Saquon Barkley back, maybe with Andrew Thomas back. That's uncertain. And they'll go from here. I mean, that's essentially what is going on with the Giants right now. But, this one was really all over the place because there were some positives here, but it's overshadowed by the idea that this team is 1-4 and going nowhere fast. And now if Daniel Jones is hurt for an extended period of time, it calls into question everything that we may have thought with Jones and this franchise off of last season. But it's too soon for that. We have to see what the further testing does tomorrow. And then obviously we'll be getting ready for a game up in Buffalo, to cover a game up in Buffalo with the Giants and the Bills. And not where the Giants expected to be, but there certainly needs to be accountability across the board because what's happened to this offense is certainly not acceptable, as Darren Waller said repeatedly after the game. So that's where we're at, leaving Hard Rock Stadium, and we'll catch you this week. We're always all in. We're still here. So I'm not sure if you guys will still be all in, but hopefully you're still listening and enjoying the content. We'll talk to you this week.